A major bank failure is raising fears of a wider economic crisis, and tech companies are introducing smarter, more environmentally friendly ways to charge your device. I'm Jeff Pierre, and this is The 7 from The Washington Post. It's Tuesday, March 14th. Happy Pi Day and Equal Pay Day to all who celebrate. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. First up, the Silicon Valley Bank collapsed Friday and was taken over by the U.S. government. It largely serves startups, tech companies, and venture capitalists. The government decided to guarantee all the deposits at SVB, as well as at another smaller bank that failed on Sunday in New York. It was an extraordinary step and meant that people were able to access all their money. President Biden spoke to the country about it yesterday.
Americans can have confidence that the banking system is safe. Your deposits will be there when you need them. Small businesses across the country, the deposit accounts at these banks can breathe easier knowing they'll be able to pay their workers and pay their bills. And their hardworking employees can breathe easier as well.
Despite those reassurances, bank stock prices were hit hard yesterday. Regional institutions suffered most, but even some large banks were affected. Falling stocks aren't an immediate threat to banks, but show that investors are still nervous. Number 2, the U.S. will release the latest data on inflation this morning. Prices likely rose slower last month, but not enough to satisfy experts. Inflation won't go back to normal unless the economy slows down, but that hasn't happened like economists expected it would. And policymakers now have the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and the ripple effects that will have to think about too. All of that complicates what officials will do next to respond to inflation. Number 3, Ukraine's military is short of ammunition and skilled troops. A year of heavy casualties has taken many experienced fighters off the battlefield. Units are also running low on basic items like artillery shells and mortar bombs. Some Ukrainian officials wonder whether the country is ready for a spring counteroffensive against Russian forces. A major winter storm could shut down parts of the Northeast today. That's story number 4. The forecast is calling for rain, heavy snow, and powerful winds. The weight of snow on trees and power lines could also result in widespread power outages. About 20 million people across 11 states are under winter weather alerts, and New York and New England are particularly at risk. Across the country, another wave of heavy rain began to drench California yesterday, so even more flooding could be a possibility. Number 5, the number of hate crimes in the U.S. hit a record high in 2021. Law enforcement agencies reported 10,840 crimes that were motivated by prejudice. This is according to a new FBI report, although the actual number is likely even higher than that. The data showed increases in crimes targeting all major categories, including racial minorities, religious groups, and the LGBTQ community. The numbers also show a record spike in attacks targeting people of Asian descent. Number 6, scientists are creating lab-grown, cruelty-free pork. Enthusiasm for plant-based meats has cooled, so companies are now turning to growing real meat in a lab as a more sustainable alternative to factory farming. One company created a ground pork prototype in 2019, but costs will need to come down before the meat can be sold widely. Right now, it can cost hundreds of dollars per pound. And at number 7, your devices are going to start deciding when to charge. This is to help manage the electricity grid. Apple has already set up iPhones to charge when the sun shines or the wind blows, and many more devices are expected to follow. This technology will allow your device to charge when the energy is the cleanest and cheapest. That should allow emissions and prices to fall without you flipping a switch. You are all caught up with the news for today. And don't forget, you can subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening. You can also subscribe to our newsletter, which has all this information, plus links to our reporting and videos. You can find that in our show notes. I'm Jeff Pierre, and I will meet you back here tomorrow.